Over the weekend, a New Zealander was involved in a record-setting sporting feat that may take some beating. Amy Satterthwaite scored a century for New Zealand against Australia, to follow her century for New Zealand against Pakistan, to follow her century for New Zealand against Pakistan, to follow her century for New Zealand against Pakistan. She had painful cramps. She could be forgiven for tiring after her 3 previous centuries, and she was facing Australia, against whom New Zealand has not won a series this century. But not only did Amy Satterthwaite help steer the White Ferns to victory, she did something no other woman in the history of cricket has ever done, and only one man has ever done: scored centuries in 4 consecutive one-day internationals. The man was Sri Lankan great Kumar Sangakkara, and now Amy has joined him. We called the White Ferns on their team bus travelling to Tauranga. Amy Satterthwaite was in the back seat beside Susie Bates, whose own batting average, by the way, is over 40 after nearly 100 games. And I asked her about being the first woman in international cricket history to score 4 centuries in a row.
Yeah, it is a bit crazy. I think it's pretty special to be alongside Kumar. He's certainly someone that growing up was a bit of an idol for me, so it's pretty special to share that with him.
You know, you talk about when you were growing up you had idols. There were a lot of youngsters at the ground yesterday at Eden Park, weren't there?
Yeah, there were. We had a lot of girls coming up to us when we were sort of fielding on the boundary and wanting our autographs, and it was just awesome to see the amount of support just growing and growing over the last sort of couple of years, and having those girls there, so I guess, like you say, seeing potential idols for them, and hopefully having players to look up to and inspire them to hopefully pick up a bat or a ball and play the game. It's just awesome.
You really are role models for those youngsters. They were wide-eyed in their adoration and admiration.
Yeah, it's, I guess, a different kind of playing field for us at the moment, being role models for them. We're sort of not used to, I guess, having that kind of tag, but it's certainly nice to be growing the game, and the way that it's sort of changed in the last couple of years has been phenomenal, and just really awesome to see the amount of girls that are following it and, like I said, hopefully enjoying watching.
You've scored 477 runs in your past 4 innings and only gone out once. And I've tried in advance of the interview to work out what the secret is. It seems that you're putting less pressure on yourself during quiet periods. Is that one of the things?
Yeah, I think that's been a big key for me. I think in the past I probably would have thrown my wicket away when it's got bogged down a little bit. And I've certainly, I guess, had the support around me of players that have come in and played key sort of innings when I've been struggling a little bit, and it's allowed me just to sort of bat through and then thankfully kind of kick on near the end, which has just been working at the moment.
Has the ball been big? Have you been seeing it just really, really well?
Well, I think against Pakistan I was seeing it pretty well. I think of late I haven't probably seen it as well as I'd like, but you try and just sort of push through that, and even when it's feeling 100%, it doesn't really matter what it looks like or feels like. To a certain extent, it's just a case of scoring runs, and thankfully it's kind of happening at the moment.
It's kind of happening. It is kind of happening. 477 in 4 innings with only 1 dismissal. That's kind of happening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I just enjoy winning, to be honest, and I'm just wanting to help contribute towards that and just have team success. So I know that the Rose Bowl's been a big thing for us that we've sort of been missing for the last 17 years. So it would be a massive thing to win that and just trying to contribute towards getting that success.
And they are 1-0 up in the series against Australia. Amy Satterthwaite, 4 centuries on the trot.